as you were sharing about the last couple of years that have journeyed with Diakonia, how was your experience over this last couple of years, especially as you are leaving now? What did you think? Was it worth it?
Definitely. I was very grateful from the initial contact that I had with was to bring into the open and into the conversation of the ecumenical arena, same-sex unions, same-sex issues, how to deal with our orientation. And I think at the Diakonia Council of Churches, we have the challenge that some of our member churches were not yet on board. And so came and did a very sensitive workshop, which did not challenge people head on, but asked questions, listened to stories. And so since then, I think staff members with whom I have contact every day have become more tolerant, have become a little more accepting. And so in the 5.5 years that I was there, I could definitely see the change. I'm leaving now to go to the United Church of Canada, but I feel that the conversation will continue at Diakonia. And I think will reap the benefits in the end. And I can only see it being more positive and that more conversations will happen. They are exploring another youth workshop, and when we help youth to talk about their sexual identity and to face the realities that some of their peers have a different orientation to themselves, it is already a major growth point where they become more tolerant of one another, where they become more accepting of one another. And so I will always be very grateful for that diversity workshop, because it put a different perspective on what we had offered before.
And especially around the difference between debating, entering it with the method of debating, or entering the journey with diversity, aiming for creating safe spaces for dialogue. How did you find the difference between the two as it was offered, and also wanted to create forums of actual dialogue engagement?
I think the method was very helpful. I do recall the one workshop we had a very dominant person in the workshop who wanted his views made, known and heard. And I think that the facilitators dealt very sensitively with him and allowed for him to talk about those things after the workshop. But the debate that is allowed and the stories that are told helps people, I think, to get to a deeper understanding of who the people are. And so it's not that we're not rejecting people, that when people start seeing that it's the system that has captured and maybe kept them captive for many centuries and not the people, I think that was helpful. And the gathering of stories and experiences, you can't take that away from people. So people's stories make them real. And to have a staff member on Diakonia who is openly lesbian, and for her to journey more and more boldly to sort of owning her own identity was hugely courageous. And I think helped her to be who she is. And more of staff, and I think several of our regular people who come to various workshops and seminars are more accepting of her now. And that is for me an affirmation. She was my neighbor, we worked together for 5.5 years, and I feel I've left her in a place where she is safer. And yeah, the safe spaces that are created for people to truly be who they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Last question, Jenny, around patriarchy and religious fundamentalism, as the challenge around those continues. Is there some wisdom you would want, especially now that you've engaged here with the Seth Mokatimi as well on gender justice? Is there some wisdom you want to share with us around that?
As we've just come through a really tough 4-hour seminar, I think it's to say that there is an alternative way. To acknowledge that patriarchy is an evil system. It's an exclusive system, and it no longer works for us. And so the wisdom that I've been trying to share with the seminarians is that we need a new mindset. The approach needs to change. And so in the church, we need to say, how can we be more inclusive and what system will work for us? Perhaps feminist theology is one way to help people to come to a more egalitarian way of looking at people in the church and how to regard God. But the patriarchal system does not work for us anymore. And so we need to find an alternative. Perhaps we don't have the answer yet, but together we will continue on this journey. All of us are somewhere on the continuum, and if we can move people another step closer, I think we're doing some good work.
Thank you, and
Thank
all the
you.
best with Canada.
Thanks so much.